All right. Do you keep getting caught in bad relationships? Or maybe you get into relationships and they just really go wrong quickly and you didn't see it coming whatsoever? What we're going to talk about today are how to spot those red flags that maybe you encountered along the way that you overlooked or purposely ignored or whatever. They were there, and we're going to talk about them today.
And if this is your first time on our channel and you have no idea who these two women are telling you about red flags, we are Pam and Kelly. I am Pam.
And I'm Kelly.
And we are a married couple who help lesbian women with topics just like this.
Before we get going, go ahead and hit the comment section. Let us know what red flags might you have ignored in past relationships. And while you're looking down, make sure you hit that subscribe button too. All right, so let's get started. Red flags are not this cut and dry type of thing, right? There's not like a list of red flags where you're like, this is a red flag. But there are some red flags that are always red flags for everybody.
Always.
The first one, violence. Violence of any sort, physical, emotional, whatever, psychological violence, always a red flag for everybody. Do what you need to do to get out of it.
Right.
Dishonesty. A little more gray area there, you know. But here's your rule of thumb. If it doesn't feel right, it probably isn't. So check that. Okay. Another behavior that should always be considered a red flag is a lack of love or caring in a relationship.
Yes, lack of caring.
Because if you don't have that in your relationship, like what's the point of it all really? Okay. So violence, dishonesty, lack of love or caring, always red flags. And then things get a little fuzzier.
Right.
Okay. So the question now is, when does something go from being just a little nuisance, right, just a kind of a little annoying thing, to an actual red flag? To decide on the difference, you have to ask yourself two questions.
Question number one is, how frequent is it? For example, does she stay out late? Is she bad with money? Does she smoke? Does she drink? Does she do both? Right? Those are things that to think about.
Right. And this matters because shorter term behaviors are easier to deal with than longer term behaviors. Maybe she's drinking a little bit more heavily because there's a lot going on at work. And as soon as she gets past this project, she'll go back to her sober ways, or mostly sober ways.
Right.
So that becomes a little more tolerable when you know that there's an end point. But, and here's the second question you need to ask yourself. Does it bother you?
Yes.
And you have to be honest with yourself.
Always.
And women are really bad here. I think this is why we become red flag victims. Because exactly, red flag. We tend to make excuses for other people's behaviors. And there are lots of reasons why we might do it, right? You might see it bothers you. You know that you should be making some kind of action because it is a red flag. But you don't because, she's kind of cute and you like some of these other things that maybe you feel like could in the long term outweigh the bad stuff. Maybe you were tired of being single and you finally met somebody and you're not looking forward to being single again. But those are all excuses to ignore the red flags. Another thing women tend to do is apologize for our feelings about other people's behaviors. We feel like almost that we don't deserve to feel or to be bothered by something somebody else does. And that's just not true. If she's drinking every night and it bothers you, it bothers you.
Say it.
Right, say it. It's a fair assessment. That may not be a problem for somebody else, but if it's a problem for you, you have to be okay with that.
So, as a recap, this is our come to Jesus conversation with yourself we've talked about this before, does it bother you? If it bothers you, be honest about it. Be honest about it. And then also, pay attention to the frequency. Is this something that you can live with day after day after day? That is an important thing to note.
Right. Is this going to bother you 5 years from now? 10 years from now? Is it going to wear on you? And that's just that come to Jesus moment. Like, let me, sit there and go within myself and just kind of focus on what I'm going to want and need in the short term and the long term.
Exactly.
Okay? And that's how you know the difference between just regular nuisance and an actual red flag. Right?
Yes. So make sure that you don't miss any other videos by clicking that subscribe button, and be sure to share our channel with others.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Thanks for watching. Be sure that you click the subscribe button so you don't miss out on any of our videos.